Yo, after the first lick, someone once told me my pussy tasted like chai. I love your Indian side, they said. Exotic, ambiguous brown skin whispered microaggressions. My lips reminded them of jalebi sweetness. Lakshmi like kiss too intimidated for bland palates. This spice is not suited for the weak. Many in attempts to capture like Indiana Jonesing to colonize, only to realize these eyes will turn you to stone. And amongst a sea of bones genetically ligamented into the present, tendency to tear down any attachment to community comes down to a sense of absence. You see, it's muscle memoried into being forgotten. Thin glimpses of chance turn into walls built so thick, skin knees get so weak and open to understand unwarranted advances as being seen. Recognized for once despite scar tissue trauma. It was never the intention to hide. Self aimlessly wandering, wondering when I'll be found, mind spun around like garbas, still dizzy from questioning values some call tradition. This is not your Masi's generation. Expectations falling short, this unknown skin is more familiar with being uncomfortable than being safe, more, oh shit, you know how this happens sometimes? This unfamiliar skin is more comfortable with more familiar with being other than being safe, more, oh my God, this is funny. You know when that happens sometimes? I'm gonna back this up. Expectations falling short. This unknown skin is more familiar with being other than being safe, with being comfortable, more comfortable, agitated, lost tongues translated into disappointment, disjointed strands of silk saris, unable to say sorry in Gujarati, so they think I'm just entitled. Dialed into attempts at recognition, denial seeks to find false pathways for admission, but shit, it seems like it's never enough. Exotified to the point where genetics will forever be in question. Circling back to points too tight to swerve, lineage only drawn straight when I'm letting someone down or when someone's going down and I become the fantasy. This regression into ecstasy to be seen seems to stifle actuality, but shit, at least some part of me remembers. Other than the exile and silencing and servitude and subordination, at least some part of me remembers the ancestry. Remembers rose water and mango trees, tribes of women with trajva head to toe, remembers masala ratios and saffron royalty. My pussy might taste like chai, but my chai doesn't taste like home. Nor are my rotis round enough to supplement the lack of comfort in a room full of marigolds. Oof, you know, I gotta tell you, you know, before I even say anything, usually I just jump right into the poem because then it makes me feel good. I get like all hyped up and everything. And then I'm like, all right, bet we got this. So woof, I appreciate y'all working with me and working through that. I'm ASHA. Wow, shout out to everybody that's gotten everything started. Just the whole thing. I think this whole thing is dope that like we get to nominate the folks for next time, and it just keeps it really authentic, because you know sometimes folks be tripping in the way that they select folks, but that's a whole other conversation. Yeah. Words. So, you know, sometimes we get in stressful situations in our lives. You just witnessed one of those for me. I gotta tell you, I'm a little sweaty, but it's not that bad. We got through it. We worked through it. I had to use my coping strategies that I learned, right? I'm breathing, I'm talking about things. But the thing is, right, like I didn't always know all that stuff. I would just be sweating, like literally in pools of sweat. I sweat a lot. I'm a triple fire sign. I can't help it, right? But things over the last year, really over the last 4 years, but particularly over this last year got really tough for me. And, you know, me, I'm a creative. So when I'm feeling down, my thing is to put my energy into creating something. And so for me, what that was is creating this book, which is called Not Your Masi's Generation. A Masi in my culture is an auntie. And so, you know, that auntie that be telling you everything you're doing is wrong. We're not doing all that. And instead what it is it's a memoir told through my own journey with mental health, and kind of narrates the way in which I came across all this research. I'm an academic nerd, I'm a teacher, right? So I took all this research and then I packaged it for folks. It's in comics, it's in poems, of course. And it's also a workbook for folks to process on their own. And it's for youth 13 and up, because I'm a teacher, so I got to get it for youths too. But trust me, you're going to like it if you get it for yourself as well. I'm going to dip out after this last one. I promise I won't mess it up because I'm going to read it from the book. Gotcha. It's called Imagine Radically. Thank you all. I appreciate you so much. I asked her in broken Gujarati and English, needing my mother to fill voids of words we both didn't understand, Ba. If you could have done anything with your life, money, family, tradition aside, what would you have wanted to do? Questions, lost in translation, not for lack of words, but for lack of dreams. Confusion and context unknown and inconceivable. The perplexed look on her face sent me into internal tears, tearing at my soul, knowing she was never fully given hers. Identity that would never belong to her because she was always owned, belonged to family she had never met. See, Ba came from extreme poverty in Kenya. With the loss of her mother at 2, the remarriage of her father and subsequent step siblings to follow, she was a pawn, trading card. Not a rare hologram demanding recognition of value and fairness. At 15, a dowry that would never be enough, drowning in suffocation that she never had a voice. Told, this family has more than we do. It will be a better life for you than it would be here besides. There are so many other kids we have to care for. Given to in-laws that would doubt her contribution, claiming tainting and devaluing of caste pride, constantly looked down upon, constantly striving for acceptance, forced to learn the new ways of a family who had more than she ever did as to denounce her own poverty-stricken shame. So when I asked her, what are your life dreams? She had no answer. No conception of a dream without responsibility, without expectation, without reins. Rain would come and fall, but she never learned what control felt like. So when I asked her, what are your life dreams? Immediately, she wished for her family to be taken care of, to not have to worry if her children could afford rent that month. I tried to construct a fantasy in which all of those responsibilities were no longer hers to bear. That there was no religious constraint on her ability, that she could do anything in the world, that her illiteracy would be non-existent, and anything she could imagine would be possible. Again, Ba, what are your life dreams? Being asked to answer a question in which even in your utopian society structured itself in such the way that you remain the servant, she didn't know how to answer. I tried again. After some prompting, some vague suggestions, I asked her, if you could have done anything with your life, money, family, tradition aside, what would you have wanted to do? Her answers, more telling than reality. She said she would want to help others, help children, elders, build a home for those without, provide care for those without. I wanted to cry. I had to hold it in because all she has ever known was living for someone else. I wanted to ask her, who has ever cared for you? There's no point in asking a question you already know the answer to. No one has ever cared for her or asked her what she thinks or what she wants or what she dreams. It was never an option. I had one more question. Ba, if you could go anywhere in the world, where would it be? Without thought. As if second nature, as if her dreams were more like nightmares, she easily answered, Kenya, home. Desire to return after exile has haunted her ever since that day in 1972, wishing to never see the refugee camps, the Air France rescues to escape decapitation and slaughter. She came from poor, low-caste family, but in Uganda, she lived. She didn't dare to dream once they barely evaded Idi Amin because life still belonged to her. And that was enough. Want to go home, she says. This time I can't stop the crying. I have to excuse myself and leave. Thanks, y'all. I appreciate you.